All right, baby, welcome to the mid-show. A lot to discuss here. We also have Cubs outfielder Ian Happ coming on about midway through. Jaylon Johnson news, other Bears news and notes. But we will, of course, start with our friends at Miller Lite. St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner.
We're in St. Patrick's Day season. I want to make it a season. I want those Irish tunes playing. I want the Miller Lights.
You want
flowing.
the bagpipes.
I want the bagpipes. I want the good vibes. I want to turn March into St. Patrick's Day season the way we have Christmas season, and Miller Lite has to be a key component of that.
Yeah, definitely a great excuse to crack one. Mm-hmm. You don't need an excuse to crack a Miller, but it's definitely a great excuse if you're looking for one. St. Patrick's celebration, whether you're watching our parade, maybe you're just on the sidewalk, just a nice Miller nestled in your hand while you're watching the floats go through.
Big time.
It's great.
Yep.
It's great. So celebrate St. Patrick's Day this year with Miller Lite. Go to MillerLite.com/redline to find delivery options near you. Or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere that they sell beer. Tastes like Miller time, Chicago. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. So like I said, before we get to Ian Happ, we're going to start with the Bears because there was some noteworthy things, unlike it's just like, oh, Fields.
Are they going to draft Fields?
We'll get into a little bit. I don't think we're going to have a show until the draft that doesn't get into that, at least somewhat.
Yeah, okay, yes.
But I think the most noteworthy is that we have franchise tagged Jaylon Johnson.
Yeah, it had to happen. I was surprised. It sounded like they were going to get a long-term deal done. Maybe they still will. But this is something like you have to do and maybe to get to that next spot. But it feels like still both sides are talking kind of optimistically about it.
I have a dumb question on it.
Sure.
Do they have to operate under the franchise tag for this year, or can they sign and then wipe the franchise tag off?
They can sign and wipe it off.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's different types of franchise tags. This one is non-exclusive, which basically says if Jaylon Johnson can go out and get an offer from another team, a long-term offer, and he chooses to sign that, the Bears have the ability to match, and if they choose not to match, they get 2 first-round picks.
That's like what they did with Green Bay and the corner out of Virginia Tech a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Kyle Fuller.
Yeah, he went
I want to say it was a similar situation.
It wasn't to that level because their compensation for
we would remember that.
Yeah,
but wasn't Green Bay offered him, and then the Bears?
That was Adrian Amos.
Yeah,
was that Adrian? Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah, Fuller went to Denver.
Yeah, I would not give up 2 first rounders for Adrian Amos. And I don't think there's many players in the NFL that you could argue that are worth 2 first rounders.
Right. So I guess the point is Jaylon Johnson's going to be a Bear because you can't get 2 first round. Like people are balking at 2 first round picks for quarterbacks and shit like that. So Jaylon Johnson's great. I think he's a big. They're hard to find. It's hard to find guys like him.
He's a shutdown. He's awesome.
They were lucky to get him in the second round. The only reason he was in the second round was they had some shoulder injury concerns. So I hope they get some kind of long-term deal done because you're looking. We always talk about dudes. Like he's a dude. You can kind of put him out there by himself. Sweat's a dude. And you're trying to get more of those. They don't. I think that's kind of it for them
on defense.
On defense for maybe the whole team for right now. DJ Moore. So I'm glad he's going to be back one way or another. I hope they get a longer-term deal done.
Yeah, I think it was a no-brainer. You're in a situation where you can't let the progress of the defense get halted at the door. You're not at that position yet where you could be not greedy, but you could be like super selective to the point where it's like, hey,
they're not quite there yet.
And he's still a young guy. Like he can be part of this team for a while as we continue this.
Yeah, he's a foundational piece.
Yes.
Like you said, him and Sweat are foundational pieces, and it's hard to replace that load-bearing wall.
Right.
And he's one of them.
If you let him walk, you're probably going to sign a guy who might be 70% of the player at or 50% of the player at 70% of the cost kind of thing. So it makes financial sense. I do think the NFL players get the raw end of the deal.
They very much do.
I would agree
with their CBA, but he'll get his money, and he's an important piece here. So it's all that's. I think everybody's in agreement that they're glad he's back.
Yeah, obviously, I think this gives him like all the leverage, basically. Though, like of course you want to have your teams. Like I'm pro player.
Yeah.
But in a salary cap structured league, you do have to kind of be smart about how it's going to go. Obviously, the Bears have $80 million worth of cap. $20 million this year, about $20 million isn't going to kill us.
Yeah.
No. But long term, like he has leverage for a long-term deal right now.
Yeah, unless they just want to do the 1 year. You know, if he signs the tender, he's here for 1 year, that $20 million, and then the next year it gets like big money.
Yeah, but I don't get the. I don't think they tagged them because they are unsure about him. They want to see one more sample size.
No, I know.
They tagged him because they want him to stay.
Right.
And they just couldn't come.
So I guess why do you think he has the leverage?
I think he has a leverage because he's already in the camp where it's like, all right, $20 million.
Yeah.
Right. You know, like, well, don't get me wrong. I guess maybe I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here because they do have the flexibility to pay him $20 million. That doesn't necessarily mean you want to.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess that's how I see the leverage. I
kind of feel like they're both on the same side. Like this might be like, hey, why don't you give me that $20 million in like a signing bonus, like the guarantees. But they're probably working towards a lower cap hit in general than that 20. They're not going to pay him $20 million a year. And then and if he just says, hey, fuck it, like we can't reach an agreement, he plays for that 1 year. Year two, if you franchise a guy again, now he's paid at average. I believe the rule is a top five. The top five guys position. At his position next year is top five guys in the league. So Mahomes and so like they're both, I think, on the same page.
It's not plausible.
It does sound like they're on the same page based on everything you've heard both parties say. So it's good to have him back.
Yeah, I mean, who the fuck knows what's hanging it up?
Yeah, I don't know.
Sometimes you get in the weeds and it's like the most minuscule shit.
It's fucking agents and suits.
And you just need more time. Yeah, so you just do this temporarily.
Yep.
And
who knows? Maybe he signs some deal where his cap hit next year is like $14 million. But he's extended for 5 years at that number.
Right. I like these little. You always call it a bridge deal in hockey, but I always love those now, especially like you see what Mike Evans got. What did he get? Like 2 years, 52, I think it was, Lance.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got like 2
years. You're seeing him in baseball now. This Cody Bellinger is kind of a bridge deal as well. So
and like, don't get me wrong, tremendous differences between Mike Evans, who's at the end of his career, still very productive at the end of his career, versus Jaylon Johnson, who's in his prime. But you get my point.
Yeah,
where
you lower the risk a little bit. Yeah,
and especially when you got more cap room at the moment. So that's kind of that. And it's also. It's a big year for that backfield. It's a big year, I think, because I would hope and I think that the Bears are not going to whiff on this 3 technique as well as the other edge rusher across from Sweat. So these guys who almost had, and they've been productive. I think to some degree, we all like Brisker, Stevenson, and Gordon.
Yep.
But there's really going to be no excuses once we could actually get a legitimate front seven again.
Yeah, another free. You got to replace Eddie Jackson. So that was Eddie Jackson was kind of the leader by default. He was definitely not the best player in that backfield.
He's an elder statesman.
Yeah. So you're gonna have a different voice in the backfield, and I think that's another position where that's a free agency position to me as opposed to a draft position. Like go get a
safety?
guy. Yeah, there's a bunch.
I don't know. You've been the proponent of moving.
I do like that idea. I think he can do it. He's got the athleticism. He's got the toughness. And he's a guy Kyler Gordon we're talking about. He's a guy I want on the field every play, regardless of if you're in base or in nickel. Like I don't like the idea of like, oh, it's first down, it's a running down. Let's take one of our most talented athletes off the field because he's a nickel. So if he can play free safety. And then he plays 100% of the defensive snaps as opposed to 60. I think that's a win for the Bears too. So I think it's worth an experiment in training camp, but it's not. I wouldn't want to go into next season with him penciled in there with no backup plan kind of. So I think they should go out and try to find a free agent at safety who can help him in that spot.
Yeah, which they probably will.
Yeah,
because I mean that. It really depends, too, how they feel about Stevenson.
Doesn't it feel like the defense is kind of close?
I think it definitely is.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was a good defense. It was trending upwards even before Sweat.
Right.
Like, we were good against it was trending up. Like,
trending.
There also is kind of a weird revisionist history where, like, he changed everything. It was trending up for sure. Like, he definitely...
He makes everyone better,
He kicked it into another gear.
Yeah.
But the defense was definitely trending up even before Sweat.
Ngakoue, he got hurt a couple games into the Sweat era, but he became like a productive guy too, just because he wasn't getting doubled on every single play, because he's the guy on the opposite side. So you're right. Like if they get that other edge, they get a 3, whether that's in the draft or maybe it's
Wilkins
or Dexter or that he takes a step and all, because he was supposed, that was the story on him coming out last year, was that, he's this explosive kind of D tackle, can play the 3 technique. But at Florida, they really kind of asked him to play, that 2 gapping system where you're holding up and then you just, you're stopping the run. Where in this system, it's like you can use your athleticism. I think we started to see a little bit of that towards the end of the year too from him. So if he takes that step and Stevenson takes that step and they plug some holes and upgrade other positions, it's not like that unit can be like a very impressive unit, I feel like.
Yeah, it's not. They get a good 3 technique. You get another edge rusher. Like, it could be a top 10 unit.
I think so too.
Pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
You'd have 3 dudes at different levels of the defense. So, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I like the linebackers. They're not like the game changers that Roquan was, but they're all very serviceable.
They're all
guys.
stout.
Yeah.
All stout.
Yep.
So, yeah, kind of a no-brainer. Like we said, figure it'll get sorted out in some way. Other move that happened Monday night, Bears traded for interior lineman Ryan Bates from the Bills to give up a 5th rounder. Another thing where you sit and like this is almost every trade. I like the move. Like you're like conditioned to be like, this is it, and until it like doesn't work out, like that's just classic.
Right.
Off-season.
I think I liked the Dan Feeney move last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like off-season acquisition.
Yeah.
Mode. You're just like, all right, I trust that.
It's one of those things where it's like we're not going to be super familiar with Ryan Bates on a game-to-game, play-by-play basis, but you know the name. Yeah. It's like that's a guy who starts on a good team.
We also tried to sign him.
Yep.
And the Bills matched the offer.
Yep.
So like this is a guy who's been on Pole's radar.
Yeah. And I read today that they penciled him at center.
Yes.
So if you're looking about, what are they going to do with the draft with some of these later picks? A lot of people have been talking about drafting a center. Maybe they still do draft an interior lineman who can do both.
Yeah.
That's definitely possible. But he took Cody Whitehair's roster spot.
Yeah, which I think they definitely need at least one more interior lineman because
you can't trust those guys to stay healthy.
Yeah,
Jenkins can't stay healthy.
You can't trust Jenkins to stay healthy, and to be quite frank, like there were many moments last year where I was just unimpressed with Nate Davis.
I thought he was a serviceable veteran.
He got better. It started very ugly though.
Yeah,
it started ugly.
And that's my point. I know, having a good center will help him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. He's just, and it's because Bates is, from what I've seen, he's better against the pass.
Yeah.
Davis is better against the run. So maybe in a way that kind of helps out the offensive scheme, you'd hope. But it's good. A center was obviously imperative. Like they needed a fucking center.
It was a gaping black hole last year.
And it's another one of those positions where even if you get the kid from Oregon, who's some people have him mocked in the first round, I don't know if you want a rookie center and a rookie quarterback and the heart of your offense. You kind of want a veteran guy as part of that battery.
He's 27.
Yep.
He's got 3 years left on his deal.
Mm-hmm. He's been around success.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think that if the Bears need to start winning and building a culture, I think taking guys from winning programs is important. Like I'd rather take a guy. Let's say Ryan Bates played for the Jets. I feel better about him coming from the Bills than I do him coming from a team like
this guy's
Jets.
Walking in. He's probably the leader of offensive line.
Probably,
right
yeah. I think
him
you're
and
right.
Davis, obviously, because obviously Darnell's going to be in year 2.
Yep.
Braxton will be very new as well. He's going to be
still
in year
young.
3.
Yep.
And then Jenkins, by age, should be, but still, it's
age and attitude. I like Jenkins. I know you're not the biggest Jenkins guy. He just I feel like if he can just ever stay healthy, he plays with that attitude I like. And call me a sucker.
How long are we going to ask that?
Yeah, I mean that's some guys are going to be but
next year's year 3 or year 4 for Jenkins.
3. I believe it's 3.
I'll look it up.
He was in the same draft as Justin Fields.
Yep.
Okay.
It's year 4.
Right. Yeah. All right. Yeah, but if he can get you 14 games, that kind of thing, I like what he brings, and I also, this is such a meatball thing, But like when he tweeted out that it was like, I'm sorry to the fans, I had the worst game of my life against the Packers. I'm like, all right. Like at least
he's aware.
Yeah, he's accountable to it. So,
but it's interesting. It's last year of his deal. You know? So he's playing for something.
He
for
is
sure.
for sure.
And he's gonna have to play damn near 17 games with a good season for me to be like, yeah, I'm comfortable giving
him another deal. I think he could do that, and you still might just be like, we got to walk away.
Scary.
Yeah.
Something about him is just
like,
scary.
I like him. I would not commit long-term money to him. Because
here's the thing about Jenkins, and it's not.
Guys don't get healthier as they get older.
Yeah, and it's not really fair to him, but tell me if this makes sense to me at least. With Jenkins, it's never been the injury that you've seen. It's always like you read on Twitter, it pops up on the injury report. It's like, what? He's hurt?
Yeah.
How did that happen? I think he's had one memorable injury where he hurt like his back or something like that.
Well, he had the surgery.
Yeah, it was like his neck, and it looked very serious, but it actually wasn't. He came back.
I remember that.
Yeah, it actually wasn't bad at all.
Right,
but you know what I mean? He's just an ambiguous like, he's on the injury.
Soft tissue Alshon.
He's a tweak guy. He's a tweak guy.
It's like, what happened?
I hate tweak guys.
Yeah, he's a big time tweak guy.
I
can't stand tweak guys.
Now, meanwhile, he's probably playing through a million things that would sideline us for.
It's hard to fucking.
No one's.
But totally, But he is a guy. Look, like I just said, he could start 17 games and look awesome. I still would have. I would be very cautious about giving him any sort of real money in a long term.
It's not that we don't want to like him. We want to like him, but we just want some consistency.
Yeah.
And to be on the field. That's it.
So I'm reading up on this trade. He only played 35 snaps last year, and he started 2 years ago for the Bills. Was average at best by PFF, it looks like, and he only played 35 snaps last year because he was replaced. So I don't know if I'm trying to nitpick it right here. I don't know if that's a fifth is like that's a lot for a backup.
No, fifth. Fifth might not make your team.
From what I understand, it was they're just too log jammed. Like he was just
he was a casualty.
Yeah, like
but still a fifth.
Why are you so attached to a fifth round pick? If you're a fifth round pick, you're kind of lucky if you make the team.
Not lucky. Most fifth round picks are
fifth rounds.
You're making the
typically
team.
make it.
Let's pull up Bears fifth round picks.
Fifth rounds usually make it.
Yeah, fifth rounds.
No, it's not like 4 and above is definitely that's the cutoff 4 and 5 in my opinion. Like 4 and above is like you really want them to be there, but fifth round picks make the team for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Noah Sewell and Terrell Smith made the team. Neither one of them I thought were overly impressive last year as rookies. Dominic Robinson, gone. Larry Borum. Like, you're not getting, like, I'd rather have a guy who I know can play in the league. Larry Borum's like a fucking.
He played, though. I mean,
he's a whatever. But he's a swing tackle.
Tyreek Hill's a fifth round pick.
Okay. Check. Hey, Lance. Checkmate.
Jordan Howard was pretty good.
Yeah. Like you can get a good player, but it's not like me. It's not like, oh my god, we gave him a fifth. Like I don't think it's like too high of a price to pay.
But I'm saying
that's a guy guaranteed
trading any
play for you.
Draft capital to a guy that was kind of just like, you're a casualty of our roster crunch.
It's the round that starts to get borderline.
Yeah.
But I would slant it towards more like.
I would say like 85% of the time
they're going to give them a chance.
We'll see. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sweating a fifth round pick. I guess.
No, I'm not either.
Yeah. I'm not
4 and above
it.
is when you're like that's real capital.
Yeah.
But still good. What good executives find guys in those.
That's very true.
Yes. Yeah,
that's just
we talk about fine guys teams all the time in baseball. It's definitely a thing for football too. Maybe there was an inadequacy in his mechanics or something. Pauls is a former offensive lineman. Maybe like tweak that hand placement there, tweak these
and we got
footwork here, and we got
perfect example. And I know obviously with Tyreek Hill and this guy I'm about to name, we're arguing exceptions to the rule, but it was like NFL porn. I don't know if you saw the video of the Rams with McVay and their general manager talking about Puka Nacua.
No.
And how much go check out the video. It's just like GM executive like porn, like how much they like this guy and how they identified him and like where he would be. And it's like,
he was at BYU, right?
Yeah, like they were pumped they got him in the 5th round. It was a really cool video. But that's the point. Like good executives still are able to make shit happen.
They know what they're doing.
And
Mooney's
I do
a 5th
think
rounder, right?
Yeah.
4th or 5th. Yeah, he was mid-round guy.
Yeah.
I do think Poles does know what he's doing. I'm a Poles stan at this
I
point.
am
hope.
still reserving judge. I got to see this offseason.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
This is a difficult one to navigate, to say the least.
Yeah, it is. I mean, all right, then we could fully roll this Bears talk into, the combine, Caleb Williams and whatnot. Any takeaways? I like that I saw that he was the last one off the field, shaking everyone's hand, saying hi.
Yeah.
I know I'm already talking about him like he's ours, but I'm just putting
he-
that out. I
I
like that.
I think he's ours.
He's ours.
I'm pretty sure
Like
he's
that.
ours.
Obviously, the field civil war was going strong over the last 6, 8, 10 months or whatever, but it seems to be dying down a little bit. But there's still those
agree.
accounts out there that are.
Well, you just have to tweet about
trade that
it.
pick, trade that first pick, trade that. We got Justin Fields, build around him. At this point, I just reply to people like, "Hey, man, it ain't happening.
Yeah.
It ain't happening.
Yeah.
It ain't happening.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what side of the fence you fall on, and you better just get ready for the Caleb Williams era to start because that's what's going to happen."
Yeah. I hope he's the guy. I really do.
What
I'm nervous.
Gives you guys the nerves, besides just Bears fan PTSD, that
Just the way he plays. It's not. He doesn't play an NFL offense.
I'm not smart enough
Yes, you are.
football-wise to... I mean, I've watched his highlight reels. I see these guys making all sorts of acrobatic throws out of all these weird arm angles. He has got a cannon.
He's got a good arm. He's got a really good arm.
Cannon. Like, we talked to Urlacher in those interviews.
Well, look at that
coming
quote.
out.
I mean, it's Ryan Leaf, but I think he's still in the quarterback coaching evaluation game. 75% of what made him great in college is not transferable to the NFL.
Can we hear that, Lance? I'd like to hear this
I mean,
quote.
it's a 5
It's a
minute.
4 minute.
It's a
All right,
fuck.
never
Yeah.
mind.
Probably won't be able to.
But
yeah.
It's okay.
But that
Don't worry
is,
about it, Lance.
I do think there's merit to that. Like,
Oh, yeah,
when
for
you
sure.
watch him play, like it's nothing is on time. It's all improvisation. I don't know, but the game has changed too. So that, if you can design the right offense and take advantage of that, and if they give him more weapons, which I do think they need more, then
And they will
just
be
DJ
here
Moore
too.
and Cole Kmet. But
They're going to add depth there they have to add depth there like by default. But I'm looking at this. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like,
It's kind of
to go to your point, this Alex toxic Bears fan first response. Ryan Leaf knows what it takes to be. Well, I'll tell you what Ryan Leaf knows more than anybody. He knows what it's like to be a bust. And if he's speaking honestly, like, I think he's a good person to reference.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows better than what it doesn't take to make it in the NFL than Ryan Leaf?
Yeah.
So, I think there is some
With all
credence
due
to that.
respect, I haven't listened to this quote. I haven't watched this. I haven't seen a ton of Ryan Leaf content.
But
former,
he is
former NFL players are not a lot of times.
what
not
makes
the
you
best,
say that?
not the
What
best
makes you
judge.
say that?
No reason. No reason.
I
at
think
all.
there's a reason, Ed.
No reason. At
Yeah.
all.
Well, I mean, he is an analyst. He's still in this game. I've seen varying concerns. Here's the other thing everyone talks about Mahomes. I'm not trying to get into comparison thing, but Mahomes did come into like a perfect situation. He got to sit for a year behind Alex Smith while the team was good. I think they went to the AFC Championship game that year.
Might have.
I think they did, or they were at least a playoff team with Andy Reid and Alex Smith. And then he came in year 2 and was like the best player in the world.
Yeah.
But I think, having a year to sit in an offense and learn the way Alex Smith was playing it.
Don't bring that up, Chief. Don't never bring that up.
What do you mean?
Because that was like that whole thought goes by the wayside. Remember the whole
That's also not.
It happened with Mitch and Fields, both of them. Remember with Dalton and Glennon, it was like an outcry, and it was like, oh, what, get him in the game. Like, after 2 starts for both of them.
Yeah.
Fields only came in because Dalton got hurt, and
Right.
then they ended up just pulling the plug on Dalton and Glennon, if I remember correctly.
After 4 games.
Yeah, something like that.
But
They paid him
the
19
difference
mil a
is
year.
Alex Smith was good. Glennon fucking
Andy Dalton had
sucked.
some decent time, though.
Oh yeah, Dalton had a good
For
run.
the Bears?
No, not for the
but
Bears.
for the NFL.
Yeah, he
No,
was,
but Alex
He
Smith.
played on some good Bengals teams, playoff teams.
Yeah.
it took Alex Smith a long time too, though. It took
Yeah,
him a
no,
minute.
it
because-
did.
yeah,
It
did.
It
It
took him
did.
a long time.
Yeah, kind of took him getting with Andy Reid.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
And I said that about athletes too, fans too. We just say mostly what we see the experts do. You know, like everyone right now thinks it's a foregone conclusion that we're taking Rome Odunze at
I
number
hope
9.
he's there.
You know, yeah, like,
Yeah.
but like who the fuck knows?
Nobody knows.
Nobody
Outside the
knows.
first few.
But it's like I've seen things where it's like the Bears are going to try to trade up to 5 because they don't think one of the neighbors or
Odunze.
Dunze will be there. So it's like you got to move up because if the Giants want Harrison's gone, Giants take neighbors, and then Odunze goes to Atlanta. You're fucked.
Yeah.
So I've also seen that with like the Justin Fields rumors to Atlanta, is that someone told me that the Bears were concerned that they wouldn't be like Atlanta would swipe their guy at 8. So it's like, hey, we'll give you Justin Fields for 43, and we'll give you 9 for 8, and maybe another pick. Like there's all sorts of things like that because I've heard from an agent that the Bears are looking at wide receivers like at that spot.
And that's, to me, the more interesting discussion is Justin Fields and where he ends up.
Yeah.
I saw I think Schefter tweeted, the market for Justin Fields is not as big as the Bears had hoped. It's not going how they expected. Motherfucker, you were the one that said they could probably get a 1.
Yeah, you're the one who propagated those.
You made this artificial market, dude. Like, how are you going to say that like that? You know? And the report came out that it sounds like one of the 3 will be Atlanta's quarterback. It's either going to be Cousins, Fields, or Mayfield. I would think that,
So you got to think that if Mayfield goes to Atlanta, then Tampa Bay would be interested in Justin Fields, right? So
maybe.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's hard to envision that sign him like him and Evans had a great season together.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Vikings are going to do whatever they can to try and stay competitive. The bigger balls on the table move would be from Kirk is to go to Atlanta because weaker division, more of a chance.
Studs everywhere. I mean,
it's not to say like the Vikings were a good team last year. They just lost him and the bottom fell out. And it's hard to leave Jefferson and Addison.
If you were Poles and your best offer was from Minnesota, would you pull the trigger on send him to the
fuck
I
not?
thought about that, and I initially was like, I don't want to think about that.
So now I'm asking you to think about it. So you're saying clearly yes.
If that's the best offer, then yeah, because I don't think Justin Fields is a good quarterback, and if you trust your defense, and especially if you coach him and you know what his flaws are, I feel like you could pick Justin Fields apart.
I think that is if you're sitting in Poles' chair, that could be a thing that gets you fired. You trade him there. Let's say it's for a second. Okay, I don't know where their pick is exactly, but let's say it's for a second.
They're fourth best odds right now. The Vikings are
for Fields
via DraftKings #DK partner.
Okay, yeah. What else is it? Who else?
Falcons are the number 1 odds. It dropped to -450. I wanted to say
when we were in Arizona. Yeah.
Right now they're the best odds, still at +125. Steelers at +250. Bears at +275. Then the Vikings at +550.
I have also heard from a quote source that Seattle is interested.
Well, they're +7,000.
That came out. That was a report about him to Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Just because that's your conviction, though, Dave, it is something in there has to make you.
I understand because if you're sitting in Poles' shoes and he does go off in any way, especially against you in
twice a year,
twice a year,
you're fucked.
But if Caleb Williams is lighting it up, then
totally. If your guy is better, but if you give the Vikings, who have a good team, the quarterback that they need for the next 6 years, and they're it's like they're kicking your teeth in because they have, instead of being like, hey, you guys are fucked without this quarterback, now you guys have to go find one, and it's like, well, you better trade up to get Jaden Daniels or whatever it is. Take J.J. McCarthy and it doesn't work out. Well, they're scrambling back in the quarterback game with us. But if you get a guy who is a serviceable starter and could, I think Kevin O'Connell probably gets more out of Justin Fields with Justin Jefferson and everything around him than Getsy did. So it's a grab your nutsack kind of move if you're Poles.
But I mean, obviously, if all offers are equal, you're not sending him to Minnesota. But like, it'd be organizational malpractice if you didn't take the best offer. You have to almost.
It's hard, but it's almost.
I know there's a gray area though.
It's
So
almost like
it's a
zero.
weird
Or
thought
it's almost like
process.
zero
Yeah.
or double zero hitting on a roulette
Yeah,
table.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to feel good about what you got out there in red and black, and then here comes green.
Yeah.
You know, which happens. But
It does.
it's
That's
obviously
Smitty.
Yeah.
at a less rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Loser.
We'll see.
Yeah.
On that note, we could kick it over to Caleb Williams. I wish we were talking to him too,
that'd
but
be
we
awesome.
did talk to Ian Happ, and it was an awesome conversation. Dude's the man. Got into his thoughts on the uniforms, his thoughts on Bellinger returning, his thoughts on the council news. A lot of good stuff, and we also shot a little mini golf video with him, which was even better, I think.
Yeah.
Because the whole time he was ribbing Dave about the White Sox. Which was fun.
Very slyly.
Yes, we don't know
Yeah.
when that's coming out yet, but as always, stay subscribed to our Rumble page, our YouTube page, and the podcast feed for that matter. But before we kick it to our guy Ian Happ, we want to talk about Chevy Drive Chicago, and most importantly, our guy Chief, who just bought a Chevy.
Chief, the floor is yours.
Yes.
Yeah, I left my keys out there today, but I drove it up and down Ashland to and from work.
Windows open?
Not today.
Not today.
It's a little
I'm
chilly,
excited
but I got
for that
that.
first
I
trip
got
in the Blazer with the windows down.
this is an underrated auto industry upgrade. Is when they do the sunroof. That's the whole roof.
Yeah.
That didn't used to be the thing.
That's your car?
What?
You got that?
The sunroof is the
Yeah.
whole roof. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's sweet.
Yeah,
So the
it's
Chevy
like a
Blazer,
convertible.
I'm loving. I'm learning a lot through this process. Do you know it's got a Camaro engine?
Nice.
Thing hauls. Okay. So it's a great car. It's been about 24 hours now with it. I'm really enjoying it. I feel like a big boy, and looking forward to going out to the suburbs this weekend. We'll stretch its legs, test that Camaro engine, and
once you
thanks
get
to
past
Chevy.
O'Hare on 90, you just let her rip a little bit.
And exactly. And I
Yeah.
gotta say, Chevy Drive Chicago, they made it so easy for me. Like, they were the absolute best. And like, I don't know anything about cars. They're not like gonna shake your hand and take your watch kind of guys. Like, they tell you, they're like, there's no stupid question. Here's my number. Text me if you have any further questions. Like, the Chevy dealers in this area were so helpful, and I talked to a few of them. So helpful. I can't recommend them enough.
Yeah, I mean, they gave you legit. They dropped the car off to you and they're like, "Here,
Yeah.
we'll see you Saturday for your test, or this is like your extended
Yeah.
test drive. Bring it back if you want the car."
Yep.
That's awesome service.
Yeah, they're great, and and now I know, like, anytime I need an oil change or anything, doesn't matter if I'm in the suburbs, in the city, I just go to ChevyDriveChicago.com, punch in the zip code, they'll bring up the closest one to me. I know I'm going to get good service, and they kept saying the word family to me. They treat you like family, so I think I'm going to be a Chevy guy forever now.
There you go.
Chevy
That's
guy.
Americana right there.
Oh, it is.
That's
David.
Americana.
David.
I pulled up today. I didn't like that you were in my spot zone.
Get her earlier, buddy.
But I was like,
Let him have this one.
he picked a nice color too.
Yeah.
I was like, he did a good job picking that too.
Yeah.
So one more time, go check out all those new Equinoxes, Traxes, Blazers, everything like that. Head to ChevyDriveChicago.com to learn more about these cars and find your local Chevy dealer today.
Can I say something else I like about that car?
Yeah.
You know how they have like the logo, for the emblem.
Mm-hmm.
Chevy lets you pick what color it wants. I got a black one. I didn't pick it out per se, because this is the one we have on the lot that meets what you want. That black logo looks sweet.
It's sharp.
Yeah, it's clean.
There you
I'm going to go take a little tour of the car after this interview.
All right, go do that. Let's shift it over to Ian Happ, Dave.
Whoosh.
Okay, now we are in the interview portion of the show. We're joined by Cubs outfielder Ian Happ. Ian, I'll cut to the chase right off the top. How much meat are we talking in these Fanatics outfits, in these uniforms? Like, how much are you seeing?
I think it's supposed to be the same material of the pants. I don't think the pants are the big issue.
Okay.
I know we saw some images.
We saw some meat.
We saw some meat, but I don't think the pants are the big issue. There's a little bit different. Like, instead of buttons, like there used to be buttons on the back pockets. Now they're snaps. It's like little things like that the players notice. But I think the jersey is the bigger issue.
Is it like, what's the biggest noticeable thing from your, like, physically wearing it?
They're longer. They're like really long. So
Yeah.
I think that's why you saw a bunch of
Okay.
a bunch of jersey under, because they are longer.
Okay.
Mine fits like a dress, so I gotta make it some alterations. We're gonna get it fixed.
Mm-hmm.
But the names on the back are a little bit little bit skewed, a little bit weird, a little bit different.
They look a little league. That's kind of what they look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to play the company line, but they do look a little.
Yeah.
Did they send like a memo out like don't talk shit about the jerseys?
No, but I know they're working on it. You
Yeah.
know,
Okay.
the players weren't as involved as we probably all would have liked to be with like seeing them before it happened. And they used them in the All-Star game last year, but I don't think anybody noticed because that jersey's so different.
Mm.
And now when you see them on guys, you're like, wait a minute. Like my jersey, the first game, somebody on social media got a photo. It's like HA and then like PP. It's like down to the right. like we couldn't have sewn just sew it straight on there. It's
Yeah.
a short name. It's not that hard.
Yeah. All right. So they're working on it.
They're working
Yeah.
on it. I
This
think that's
drops
the-
next week. By this happens, like it might be.
might have all new
Fixed.
jerseys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Might be
We have
all
a new sponsor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seen Belly in it yet?
I haven't seen Belly in the physical jersey, but he was practicing today.
Okay.
At his press conference. Just hanging out. Happy to have him back.
Yeah?
It's big for the lineup.
I feel like it's huge. Were you guys all jacked when you saw that break?
Yeah. I mean, he was so awesome for us last year.
Yeah.
Just such a good dude. Same guy every single day. He has a really good process. He works really hard. And then, for our lineup, when you're looking at it on paper, we were missing, that guy.
Yeah.
What do you have? Like almost a 900 or 900 OPS last year. Like
Yep.
when you can put that production back in the lineup for the way he fits our team, versatility, center field, first base, is huge. And, he'll hit right in the middle of the lineup and be a huge impact.
Yeah. I mean, I think we were all pumped. Were you surprised that it took so long to get what is a 1-year deal done?
No, I mean, that's kind of how it works, right? Like you're trying to get that longer, like
Yeah.
done deal. And if it doesn't come together, then you have to figure something else out. And he's making $30 million this year. It's awesome.
Pretty good.
And gives himself some security, but also the ability to go back out. And he's young. I think people don't realize like he was 28-year-old free agent this year, which is a big deal. But he'll go out as a 29-year-old free agent next year.
This is one of my pet peeves with baseball. Why you're on the player rep side, right? Why can't they be like the other sports where it's just like this flurry of like Schefter tweets and everybody signs at once and it's almost like a holiday?
Yeah, it's so different because we're not a cap league.
Okay.
We're the only league that's not a cap league, right? So we don't have that system where there's a max contract and, every team has to spend roughly the same amount of money and nobody can go over. So our system is very different. It's good for players because it's a free system. So guys can sign, a $40 million 1-year deal. Like what Scherzer getting 42 over 3 or whatever. So like guys have the ability. Shohei can defer all of his money if he wants to. Like we have the ability to get creative and do those things, which is good for players. But it is the off season can be long. We can have not a lot of action. Which like as a fellow podcaster, when you're trying to talk about baseball, it's like what's going on?
It's been a dry winter.
Not
Yeah.
much.
I'm going to say this and explicitly state that I am on the player side 99.9% of the time. However, in recent years, it does seem that there is. All right, I'll ask you this: do you ever see as a union rep for the league there being a salary cap, be it with this next CBA or any time in the future? Because like you see these quotes of Jerry Reinsdorf. He's like, we can't spend on Shohei Ohtani type players. He flat out said it, and it makes me sick. But like the Moneyball quote, you got the rich teams, the poor teams, 8 miles of shit, and then us. Like how is there? Because there is going to be a competitive imbalance eventually, if there isn't already. You already see what the
It feels
A's-
like that gap is widening.
It's widening. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't see there being a salary cap. I do think, like, you see teams compete with lower payrolls. You see teams like
Absolutely.
the Orioles have done a great job. Like, the Orioles went and drafted. I think the thing to get some of those teams to spend a little bit more is now you can't sit at the bottom for 3 years. If you sit at the bottom for 3 years, you lose your pick. So, like, at some point, you do have to compete. You have to get back into the mix, which I think is important because there were teams just hanging out down there. I mean, it worked for the Cubs.
Yeah.
The
Astros,
Cubs,
yeah.
the Astros. So I think player development, drafting, and getting the right guys in the system is important. Guys are coming up now, like, more ready than they've ever been. Guys at 20, 22 years old. I think just technology, the way guys are training, like, the young dudes coming up are really, really competitive. I think for us as a system, it probably makes sense to try to get those guys that are producing 22, 24, 25, like, get those guys paid at that point in their career because guys aren't getting paid on the back end now, right?
Yeah.
What's like a perfect system in your head?
I don't think there is a perfect system. I think that's why it's so hard. And there's so many moving parts. I think the best thing that we can do is get guys paid for the years that they're super, super productive. I think that's important. And then I think figuring out, like, the guys that really get kind of lost in the shuffle in the system are the dudes in the middle, right? The guys like the reliever that is valuable to a team and could be worth, $3, $4, $5 million bucks. But a team that says, I have 5 guys who I would only have to pay league minimum, and I'm just going to flip a coin and take my chances on those guys. Those guys kind of make the difference for teams, and if we can make sure that we take care of those dudes, take care of the veteran outfielder that is a really productive player, he's going to be worth 1.5 wins, 2 wins. He makes sense for your team, but you're not willing to spend $5 million bucks when you think you have a young guy that you could spend league minimum on, right? So those are some of the little things in the system that we can all work to clean up, but it's getting both sides of the table to talk about it.
Now, did you have any frustrations going through it personally last year? Was there like a part of that process you're like, man, I wish this was different for me right now?
Not last year. I think going through the ARB system, going through, like, I don't want to get into the minutia of it, but like when you're a young player and you have a chance to be up for 2 years of service plus, then you can go to ARB a year earlier. But if you lose service time and you don't get to that number, you lose a lot of money because you don't go through the ARB system 4 times, you go through the ARB system 3 times. Yeah. So, like, that part of it, the ARB system is, I went to a hearing one year, like, it's a challenging system. You go into a room, the team says their piece, and, like, it can be tough.
How ugly is it? Do they just completely shit
The Cubs were not... I've heard of it being ugly. The Cubs were very respectful in the way they went about it. They comp you to other players. They comp you to players that you probably think you're better than, and then you comp yourself to players that the team probably thinks you're not as good as. And then the arbitrators make a decision. It's not a super pleasant experience, but it's a system that's in place to let players fight for what they think they're worth. And as much as we can preserve systems in baseball that help players fight for what they think they're worth, that's kind of our job as players.
How often, did you talk to Bellinger at all throughout the process, or it's kind of like, hey, go do your thing?
Yeah, I didn't. There were some guys that were definitely in his ear and talking to him. I let him play the process out, and I know you play that long, you have success in your career to put yourself in a position to be a free agent. Not everybody gets to do that, get to be at that point. And I wanted to respect his process of do whatever you got to do, make your decisions with your family. And he was able to do that. He was able to go all the way through the process. And I respect the hell out of him for going all the way through and not being afraid to hear all the offers. And it's not easy to take that process into the end of February. And it takes a lot of courage and fortitude, and he was able to get through. And I think now being a place where he's happy to be back and he's got some security.
Yeah, feels valued. Who were the players that were in his ear?
Definitely Dansby. Dansby was definitely checking in on him.
Yeah, come on.
It's
an extra couple of million.
Him and Jameson Tyon are really good friends. And they were definitely talking. I think JMO was the same way. Like, I don't need to know about it. Like, I just want to be your buddy and hang out.
Now, how much is that the union rep and you talking versus the teammate? If you're not from union rep, are you recruiting him?
As a teammate, I would love to be like, hey, man, how's it going? What are you doing? What's up? How you doing? I love you. Come back. But
make no mistake about it. Like, you would have been upset from a team standpoint if he's not back, right?
I mean, I think when you have the opportunity to go get that guy, for us as players and as a team, like, it's awesome that they went and did that. And like Jed made and Carter made great moves this offseason. I think Shota's a really good player. Bringing Belly back. Hector Neris really accomplished, and put ourselves with this roster in a really good position. Trade for Michael Bush.
Yeah, he's going to be a stud for you guys.
And the biggest headliner of them all was obviously the manager.
Yeah,
so,
and they went out and got Craig early.
Yeah,
in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
so you guys do have money.
Where were you when you heard the news?
I was in Chicago, actually. I was in Chicago. I was on a call. I was on a union call and got a call from Carter. Kind of, hey, man, I want you to know this before it hits. And obviously I had a great relationship with Rossi. We were together for 4 years. We were friends before that. We never played together, but just so many mutual friends from those teams that we were friends previous when he was finishing his career and then at ESPN. And part of our front office. So nothing but respect for him and loved him as a friend and a manager, and obviously a tough situation for him. But Craig's been great. He's super accomplished, very frustrating over the years playing against his Brewers teams, and happy that he's on our side.
Were you just as stunned as everyone else, though?
Yeah, I was shocked.
Yeah.
Shocked.
And what was, if you'd be fine divulging a little bit, like what your interaction with Ross next? Did you shoot him a text, or how did that happen?
No, we talked. He came to my wedding like weeks later. So we talked, and just reiterating, like, I love him. He's great to me, gave me a chance to play every day, like did a lot of things for me and helped me in my career. So I have a lot of respect and love for him as a person.
Now, you were of the kind of new school baseball guy. You already referenced wins above replacement earlier in the convo. How much do you actually think a manager adds to a team in baseball? Because obviously, like, I'm a baseball guy. These guys aren't quite as big of baseball guys as me. I'm of the opinion, like, if you got 26 guys who are just dogs, like, Tom could go and fucking manage the team,
No
like,
offense,
is
Sorry about your baseball stray there. No, I think it's important. I think there's like a bunch of different factors. There's like team morale.
Yeah, of course.
Like being able to actually get the best out of all those guys, making guys feel valued. Like there's gonna be on every team, there's gonna be dudes who think they can play every day, want to play every day, as they should. Everybody strives or wants to be that guy. Everybody wants to be the guy that gets the ball in the 7th, 8th, or 9th. Everybody wants to be part of the rotation. Managing those expectations, getting the best out of those guys, even when you're not putting them in that spot. Bullpen management's huge. Like the way that managers manage the bullpen, the way that they pull those guys in and like don't let guys feel like they're being overused or neglected, and like not blowing dudes out in April and May so that you actually have them in September and October. Like all of those things factor in. And the best managers are able to kind of put all that stuff together and get the best out of the group. Is it 2 wins? Is it 5 wins? Is it 10 wins? Like,
who knows, right?
Who knows? But I think you have to be able to put that guy in place and trust him, and trust that he's going to make all those decisions. And for the players, like when you have a guy who's pulling the right strings all the time, it's like, this is amazing. This guy's a wizard. He just keeps doing everything right.
Has it been hard so far, just a couple weeks into spring training? Because like you said, like the core of Ross and Napoli, like that those are like, there's definitely an energy there with those guys, right? Has it been like, how different has it been for you, like not having them here?
Napoli's still there.
Oh, he is.
We still got Mikey.
All right,
I
great.
didn't realize. I love that.
Yeah, me too.
He'll still be out there at first base in his J's with the shades on, his chains.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
He'll be fine. No, we have a lot of our same staff back. So Craig brought. There's a couple changes. We have a new bullpen coach, new catching coach. But Willie Harris is back at third.
Oh, great.
Napoli's
Shout out,
back
Willie.
at first. Hitting coaches are back. So there's a lot of consistency there. So it's
that's
not like
good.
completely different, which is nice.
Fucking happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Was there like one thing playing against Council that you kind of noticed that you're maybe excited for?
Yeah, I mean, he was always really good with the bullpen. They always had good pitching staffs and good bullpens there. He was always really good with the bullpen. It felt like he was always having the right matchups in the game. The guy that you didn't want to face, you'd be warming up in the pen, you'd be looking over your shoulder. Like, shit. He did it again. We always play close games with them. Their group had a lot of belief in each other, a lot of fun in the dugout, enjoyed themselves. But they always fielded really competitive teams.
Do you feel like you have to build a new culture with a new manager, or is it just we just keep on rolling? Because you guys were a fun team last year that felt like you exceeded expectations.
Yeah. I think the Cubs have a culture.
Okay.
I don't think that there's. I think that culture was established by, the 15, the Rizzo, Lester, Lackey, like those decks, like the 15, 16,
Okay.
17. That's what I came up with.
Mm-hmm.
So like I try to carry on, a lot of the things that those guys taught me. And then when you have new guys come in, like the team is different every year. There's a different feel, there's a different vibe every single year. You get guys like Cody and Dansby, and guys from other organizations who do bring, a strong work ethic and culture themselves, and it kind of all melts. It's never going to be the same group. It's never going to be the same thing. But a lot of what the Cubs culture comes from is the history there, the fan base that really cares. They give a shit. They're there all the time. Tuesday at 1:00, and you're like, does anybody work in Chicago? And there's 40,000 people there on a Tuesday night. It's just, it's ridiculous. And so, I think everybody feels it. Even guys that come over like a month into the season, they see that. Everybody feels like winning here would be really, really special. Yeah.
Well, we talked about it before we started here. You're the second most tenured Cub behind Hendricks. So do you feel like the old man, or like what's the feeling?
I'm not feeling old yet, but it's definitely crazy. It's definitely like every time we come back here for spring training, I think of my first spring and, walking in as a minor league guy, being not even in big league camp in 16, seeing Arrieta and Lack and Lester walk through. Like, that team had the biggest guys. They were just all monsters.
Yeah.
Dexter and Chris Bryant
huge.
and Riz, and like, you're like, these guys are just like the Monstars walking around. And so to think now that, like, when my first camp, big league camp, I was 21, 22, and Riz would have been like 27 maybe. And to think now that, like, I'm the 29-year-old and there's 22-year-old, like, rookies walking around.
PCA,
and you can kind of be that guy for them. It's definitely pretty surreal. And, like, this will be my 8th year in the big leagues with the Cubs. It's pretty special.
It's insane. And how fast is that gone? Like, I think a lot of people kind of associate you with the World Series team incorrectly because you played with that core afterwards. I'm sorry,
Thanks, man.
I'm sorry.
Good luck on your World Series stray.
You have the opportunity to, win that here on your own. But like, I don't know, these guys threw me off because they started laughing. But like, how fast has it gone? Like,
it goes quick.
It goes your quick. Finger,
and there's so many moments throughout the years and ups and downs. It's definitely gone fast. I think I'm very fortunate to have played with that group and to learn from all those guys and to kind of reap some of the benefits in 17 of the post World Series. People playing golf with those dudes and people coming up in Chicago and saying, like, thank you so much. You made my mom's life or my grandfather's, like, all of those things are so cool. And I got to experience that secondhand. I didn't get the ring or the parade, which were the really cool things, but the seeing that, I think it taught me as a young player just how much people care in Chicago and how it really is, like, so important to people, and it just makes you super appreciative to play in Chicago.
What do you think, like, now that the page has turned and now this is a new era you're with, and you could kind of look back on that, what really made the bottom fall out like it did? Because, everyone thought that window was going to be much wider than it was. Do you ever, like, if you had any reflection back on what happened?
I mean, I think people forget how good that team was in 17 and 18. Like, in 17, we won the division. We won the DS. We went to the NLCS against a really good Dodger team that was up and coming. We had leads, I think, in every game. And it just didn't pan out. But, like, we were really close that year. And then in 18, we won 96 games. Like, we didn't score enough runs in September, and we only scored, I think we scored, like, 1 or 2 runs in game 163, and we scored, like, a run against the Rockies in the wild card. Yeah. But, like, we were right there. We were a really good ball club. And we just had a lot of really good players we were all fighting for time. We were all, like, there was a bunch of platoons. We were all trying to make an impact. And kind of 19, we had a good team that we had some injuries and it kind of fell apart on us. And then 20 happens in 21. So, like, we had really good teams. We just weren't able to do the, dominance of CSs and World Series over and over and over again, like some of the Houston or Dodgers teams have been able to do. But I'm, like I said before, I'm just really fortunate to have played with those groups.
It's hard to win a World Series.
It's impossible.
It's hard.
It's
so 108 years here. So
you look at all those teams that have been dominant for the last 7 years, and the Cubs team was one. There was 3 straight CSs in there, 15, 16, 17. The Astros and the Dodgers, and there's, one with Astros have 2 World Series?
2.
So, they're the team that's won the most. And it's really hard. It's really hard to get back there. It's really hard to put it all together. Everything has to go right. obviously, I wish I was a part of a couple more CS teams, a couple more World Series teams, but it does. It takes a lot of things coming together.
Did a couple of those down years, the rebuild years, make you be like, oh, like winning 96 games isn't normal? Like
yeah. As a young player, it was like, oh, we're just gonna do this every year.
Yeah.
Because I came in, they had been on that run. We won the division.
Mm-hmm.
In 18, we won 96 games, and it was like we were gonna win the division. The Brewers tracked us down, but we were like, we got the division.
Yeah.
Didn't win it, and then kind of like 19 happened, and we were like, all right. We won the division again in 20, and it was a different year, but we won the division in 20.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of after that, it's like, oh shit, like you don't just get to compete for divisions every year. And I think what's been lost a little bit in baseball is that like the division doesn't matter as much, or people don't think that it matters as much. Like some of those guys, Lesters and Lackeys, like you go and you win the division. Like that's what you want to do. Like when you come into camp, like you want to dominate your division and figure it all out when you get to the playoffs. And I'll never forget those dudes in the clubhouse in 17 when we clinched a division. Like, enjoy this. Like, take this in. This doesn't happen every year. And, like, when you're 22, you're like,
I got 10 more of these.
What do you mean?
12 more of these, yeah.
This is what you guys do. You've done it the last 3 years. You just do it every year.
Yeah.
But it's true. And you know, getting to win the division in 20 without really getting to celebrate and do everything, like, it makes you hungry to do it again.
Yeah. Do you like the expanded playoffs or no?
I think there's pros and cons. I do like it because
Okay.
I think that with baseball, just from a pure fan perspective, I think that more playoff games, more games that matter, are good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a 3-game playoff instead of a wild card instead of 1 is better. I hope that teams are still competing to go win 100 games and not 82 and sneak in.
Yeah.
But I do think more playoff baseball is good. I wouldn't want us to go to a system where everybody gets in.
I didn't know if that was a factor with like your perception of that, like the division doesn't mean as much, or seem to mean as much.
No, I think it's just because there's a lot of teams that are World Series or bust. There's
Yeah.
a lot of teams that it's like, if we don't win the World Series, this is a failure just because of some of the groups that are being put together. And, you know, winning a division, and from a fan perspective, like if your team goes and wins the division, that was a fun summer.
Yeah.
Like you had a blast.
Yep.
Like last year we won 83 games and just missed the playoffs. It was a fun summer.
It really was a fun summer.
It
I had a
was.
great time. Like he and I would argue about them, like, and they were giving me a hard time around the deadline. I'm like, I don't want to sell any of these guys. Like, I want to go for it. We're having fun. And he's like, oh, you just want to be an old crow. I'm like, that's part of it. You know, like let's enjoy baseball. Let's have some wins.
Was there any part of that? It would have been 2022. Well, and last year, I guess, because I mean, you were 83 win team, 84, whatever it was. Where you hoped you were dealt to a contender, someone where you can like play left field, wherever, center field, doesn't matter, and be like, all right, we're trying to win the World Series with this team now, or is it always like, I want to stay here in Chicago?
It was always I wanted to stay here. Luckily, in my extension, I have a full no trade, so that's good for me. But in 21, I was pretty close to, or 22, I was pretty close to getting traded.
A lot of rumors across town too. I remember.
In 22?
Yeah.
And there was probably 4 or 5 teams who were looking for corner outfield bats, and there was a chance. My wife's from Chicago. I've been there my whole career. I absolutely love playing at Wrigley Field. Like, there's nowhere else that I want to be. I don't want to play anywhere else. I don't want to win anywhere else. Like, I would love to win and, like, have that experience in Chicago. And so in 22, it definitely wasn't – I didn't want to get traded. And when that time came and went, I was very relieved.
Ooh, was there a close one that you knew of?
No, I mean, all those teams that so like the Braves traded for, I think they got like Robbie Grossman. Toronto got somebody. I'm trying to think who else. Jock might have went somewhere in the middle of that year. There was like 4. The Dodgers got somebody. There was like 4 or 5 teams that were looking for corner outfield bats. The Yankees ended up trading for. Who did they get? They went and got Benintendi.
Yeah,
so
Benintendi.
there was like 4 or 5 teams that were looking for corner outfield bats, and luckily Jed held on to me and then extended me.
I think Jock might be my favorite MLB player to watch.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah,
he's a great teammate. He is an absolute beauty of a human.
Everyone says that he was
amazing.
like the guy in that locker room for even like a small. Right?
He went to the Braves. We traded him to the Braves, and then he was just like. Got that they traded for a whole new outfield at the deadline, and then he was like, the guy over there doing running around with the pearls and everything. He's just
Like I went to the
beating the freeze.
I went to the game and I sat on the Giants side this year. And just watching him, he's always the last one onto the field and the last one off, dude. He's just loafing. But I'm like, I was mesmerized
with his little
by
fat
him.
face.
Yeah, I was mesmerized by. I love him. He's amazing.
Yeah. He just enjoys being out there with the guys and playing baseball.
That's
He's-
great.
It comes across.
He's a beauty.
Yeah, he really is. Dave, you wanted to ask him about a Pittsburgh toilet.
Yeah. How many Pittsburgh potties do you own? And when's the last time you've used one?
What is a Pittsburgh potty?
How are you from Pittsburgh? You don't know a Pittsburgh potty. It's just a little standalone potty in the basements that like old steel workers used to use. And
You've definitely seen him.
I don't think I've ever used a Pittsburgh potty. Does that make me a bad Pittsburgher?
you're a bad Pittsburgher if you've never used a Pittsburgh potty.
I don't think I've done that.
You've seen it though. It's just a shitter in a basement with
Like-
no walls or nothing.
Yeah,
you
it's
just
in the
walk.
middle of the basement.
We didn't have one of those in my house.
Have you seen one though or no?
Real bathroom downstairs.
Okay.
I have not. I don't think I've seen. I don't think any of
No?
my friends had Pittsburgh shitters either.
No?
I don't know what part of town I grew up in.
So we had a couple of guys that did like a
Yeah.
little documentary on Pittsburgh, and that was part of it. The
And they were
Pitts-
knocking on doors, going into basements.
Well, they sent
asking
out
for their
a
shitters.
tweet
Yes.
like, "Hey, who's got Pittsburgh potties?" And multiple people slid in. Well, I'll show you the video afterwards, but it's literally like, if this is a mini basement, it's just plop in the middle of the floor is a toilet that doesn't belong there.
That's an exceptional selling point for a house.
It is, yeah. You got an
In
extra
case of
shitter.
emergency, we
Yeah.
got this right here. Don't
Yeah.
even worry about doors.
Yeah, no walls,
Put that
nothing.
right in the description.
Pittsburgh's underrated.
Sneaky town.
I love
Yes.
it.
Yeah,
We
I've been
went
there
to
one, yeah.
Bears Steelers
Monday
a couple
night
years
game.
ago.
The people care.
Yeah.
They love
was-
their Steelers.
it was-
PNC, when PNC gets rocking, it's awesome. That's a beautiful ballpark. Have
Yeah.
you been there?
Oh yeah,
That's
that's
a beautiful ballpark.
probably my favorite one besides regular.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's a sneaky town. Downtown's actually really pretty. You get up on Mount
Oh, yeah.
Washington.
You come
like-
around that on the highway coming in, you're like,
Yeah. Go through the Fort Pitt on the.
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, through the
Beautiful.
tunnel.
Did you grow up a big Pirate Steelers fan?
No, my dad was from Cleveland,
Okay.
Oh.
so I actually just the Browns were so bad. I just rooted against the Steelers all the time. So you when you're in elementary school and you like wear your football jersey into school, I would just wear like a Browns jersey and like a Tim Couch jersey,
Yeah.
and just be like, I hate the Steelers. But I grew up an Indians fan, watching like Omar Vizquel and Jim Thome and those guys. Eventually, just living in Pittsburgh and growing up there, going to games at PNC, I started to follow some of the Pirates players and enjoy going to games there. But could never really call myself a big Pittsburgh sports fan.
Not even the Penguins either. No hockey for you.
No, now I've just taken on all the Chicago teams.
I like that.
Just root
There
for
we
all the
go.
Chicago teams.
That's good. All right then, Ian, man, thanks for dropping by.
Well, hold on. On that note, Williams or Fields?
I trust them to make the best decision.
Oh, that's
For
the
the team.
union guy
He's
speaking. That's a lawyer.
politician. Yeah.
Trust them
Yeah.
to do what's right.
Do you think you'd ever want to be on that side of it? Either like be an agent after you're done, or
Oh, he's
or
gonna be a
an
manager
agent,
for
or be
sure.
in
You can
management.
just tell.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because
I
you're
don't know.
like
Yeah,
you're
Chris
kind
Getz
of
is
into
doing it
all
right now.
sorts
Yeah.
of different things. You got your coffee. I was researching this. You did like the Daily Stoic podcast. Like
I
you're
did
kind
that,
of a
yeah.
interesting guy. Like
Thanks.
yeah, all sorts of different.
No, I don't
interests.
know. I don't know what's after baseball. I think the schedule is a lot. The people that end
Yeah.
up in this lifestyle for the long term, a lot of days away from your family, away from on the road, and I don't know if that'll be me, but I love the game and love being around the game. So maybe that'll change.
Yeah, and then get into everything: the coffee, the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, have you guys been down to Bourbonnais at all? Maybe
For
old-
Bears training
old
camp.
Bears training
Yeah.
camp.
Yeah.
So Connect Roasters started in 2015 or 2016, but based in Bourbonnais. So they're a small shop based in Bourbonnais. I connected with them in 2020, and we started working together. We did a coffee for COVID relief called it
Okay.
Quarantine Coffee, and we gave money to the food bank in Chicago, as well as Save the Children. And it's really grown from there. It's been awesome to be a part of it. Our founder is just fantastic, and now we've opened our first coffee shop in Bourbonnais.
Nice.
First physical location, which is great. We still do a lot of work with the food bank, Save the Children, and also the First Tee of Greater Chicago. So different roasts that we do, $1 per pound roasted will go to those charities. And we also give back to the farmers in the countries where we source the beans from. So it's been awesome. I've really enjoyed it. The coffee's in the clubhouse in Chicago and down here too. So
Nice.
it's good to see the guys
Any,
drinking it and getting
Does
excited about it.
Coondog just pound mountains of coffee of your coffee?
I gotta get some
He
up
left
in the,
his mug on my desk.
I haven't got the press box yet.
Okay.
Still waiting to get the press box. I think they're still doing like Keurig
They
pods
might be
or
doing
something.
Stella
up
Blue.
I think we just
Oh, actually,
I think
that's
we
what
were
they're doing. They're doing
Come
Stella Blue.
on, it's gross. We're competitors. But yeah, the podcast too, Compound Podcast, been doing that since 20 with Zach Short and
Yeah.
Dakota Mekis, and
You're kind of with the obvious shirts guys too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
work-
just like an
work with-
entrepreneur.
work with Joe over there.
Yeah, Joe's the best.
Yeah, he's been great. Just his story is fantastic.
Yep.
What he's been able to do.
Super creative guy too.
Yeah, what he's been able to do with that company is awesome, and just seeing like the players for the Cubs, like guys just roll around in their obvious shirts and love
Yep.
it, and yeah, it's awesome to see all the shirts in the bleachers every day.
Yeah.
I can get you a Portillo shirt for like a take-home souvenir.
Okay,
Yeah,
Or you
Or
want
one of these dogs.
Oh,
One
yeah.
of these dogs.
stuffed animal.
Yep.
Yeah, that would
Mhm.
be great. I'll carry that around with me all the
little
time.
wiener dog.
Perfect. Thanks, man. Really appreciate you.
Yeah,
jumping on.
appreciate you hopping on,
Yeah.
man.
All right. Hey, thank you to Ian Happ. Obviously, go check out his coffee, but check out our coffee too. All right. We got Stella Blue coffee. We believe good coffee is one of life's non-negotiables. Stop drinking those boring, tasteless big coffee beans and turn to Stella Blue. Remember, your mornings are sacred. It's time to start treating them that way. Not only are Stella Blue coffees premium beans sourced with the most coffee-rich geographies on Earth, but they're also Big Cat tasted and approved, which obviously is more important. Stella Blue coffee's delicious roasts are available in cold brews, K-Cups, ground, and whole bean formats to seamlessly fit into your morning coffee routine. Oh, and every bag sold helps save dogs. Head to your local Jewel, Osco, or Mariano's today to find the very best deals on Stella Blue coffee, or use code MID for 20% off any order of $25 or more at StellaBlueCoffee.com. Take back your morning with Stella Blue coffee. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
I think more Stella Blue goes into my system than any one food or beverage on Earth. Even water, maybe at this point. It's water. It's Body Armor and Stella Blue.
There you
Good
go.
beverage.
Yeah.
Good beverage.
And nicotine.
Where do we want to start here?
I have somewhere I need to start real quick.
Yeah.
You got the new Radical stuck in my head, and it's gonna be like I'm gonna need to like get institutionalized or something.
What do you mean?
You were singing the new Radicals earlier. Don't forget you got the dreamers and whatever that song. You were singing it, and it's gonna be in my head for the next month, and I want someone to shoot me in the face.
It's not a
because of
bad
it.
song.
It's an awesome song. I don't want it in my head for the next month.
There
and
are
that's
wor- there. I mean, you could have the Cards for Kids song stuck in your head. That'd be worse.
Those fucking kids. That kid's not even playing the guitar, and that chick in the background isn't even touching the snare drum.
But it's a good cause, I think.
I don't care. I think it's probably not. It's probably
You think it's a scam?
scam, a Ponzi scheme. I hate that commercial, and I'm mad at Ed for that.
I'm sorry.
You got the dreamer in you.
You know what
Can't
sucks?
We got our Cubs.
What do you
fix.
want? What was the thing you were going to talk about?
Well, we got our Cubs fix in. I don't know if you want to quickly say anything about the White Sox. I know you're in a downtrodden state, and I believe
no,
next
over 63.5.
Yeah, I believe next
Hashtag DK partner.
next week we will be airing our Chris Getz interview.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. We went to the game, and
Well,
Cubs
here
Sox.
I'll start here. I just interviewed Adam Wainwright for my music podcast, ironically enough, because he's coming out with a country album, and he was fantastic. And we were talking about how tight knit his the Cardinals clubhouses were with him and you know Yadi Molina and Tony La Russa and all that. And he's like, man, like I played 18 years, and I'm talking in his little Southern Georgia accent. I played 18 years in the big leagues. I never really played on the most talented teams. We were just the most tight knit teams on the field, off the field. Didn't matter if we had family problems, we could speak openly about it. And like he was just rattling off like how important it is to be a tight knit clubhouse. And Chris Getz was very candid right off the rip about how big of a fucking disaster it was over the last couple of years. It sounds like they've really weeded out the shitheads. And vibes were good. I hate hearing that from like the Chuck Garfines of the world who are, you know, in camp. And because I'm sick of hearing that shit. I'm sick of hearing it. To me, it's lip service. It's like put up or shut up. Go win baseball games. I don't care how close you guys are. Go win baseball games. On the flip side, seeing it in person, vibes were very good. Everybody we spoke to was super upbeat. Like we talked to Kopech for a split second after. He's like, "Yeah, man, like things are looking good. Nobody's expecting anything of us, but we're excited and stuff, and like they're not going to make the playoffs or anything like that, but
they might enjoy going to work.
Which makes me enjoy watching them a little more.
Yeah, they'll play defense.
They're going to have a very good defense, I think.
Yeah, I think they're going to get over 63.5.
Yeah, I mean that's such a low number that I mean there's that old quote: everybody wins 60, everybody loses 60. It's what you do with the other 102 games or whatever it is. 42 it would
40.
be. But
Can you go out there and not lose 100 times?
I am.
Can they look in that locker room and say that?
I don't think that team can be worse than last year. I really don't think it can be worse than last year.
What was the record last year?
61-101, I believe.
Yeah, I think they're better than that.
Maybe not.
Moncada in a contract year.
I mean, we heard that multiple times. Yo's on a contract year. Watch out. And that's something that it enrages me.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
it's still going to be on the back. Like, if Cease is still on the team, obviously you feel better about that. If he's not, you feel a lot worse. If Kopech doesn't have any semblance of a decent year, you feel even more worse than that. So there's a couple key variables that could change all that thought.
Definitely.
About the
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, there are a handful
and they're realistic
of guys.
variables.
No, definitely. There are a handful of guys, Kopech being one, Andrew Vaughn being another, Eloy, absolutely. Like, these guys have to go and fucking put up numbers.
I don't think those guys suck. You know,
they don't.
Right.
I thought Andrew Vaughn was going to be Paul fucking Goldschmidt when they drafted him. Golden Spikes winner, absolutely raked at Cal, and that's a good baseball conference. He's not as bad as he is.
Right.
And I don't want to hear the defense thing. That I don't care that he's playing fucking left field. That's not fucking with his offensive game. What's fucking with his offensive game is that he doesn't walk enough. Like and he swings it too much. If tighten up their games a little bit. I'm not saying reach their potential because, like I said, in my mind, his potential was Paul Goldschmidt. I don't know if that's ever going to happen anymore. However, like if they get to 80% of that with a lot of these guys, if Yo gets back to his 2019, 2020 form, it's not a horrifically bad team. That said, they are an injury away or trade away from being that dumpster fire team, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We'll see. Chris Getz next week. Interested to hear what Sox fans think. And with that said, anything Blackhawks related?
I mean, trade deadline week, and it just like we're just on the outside looking at him. There's like bombs going on right while we're sitting here.
Oh, really?
My guy, Bo Byram, traded.
Oh, no shit.
So he can't stay healthy. But he got traded for another like Casey Middlestad, who there was a time when he was like regarded as like this can't miss. But Philly traded Sean Walker, who's to Avalanche, who's like an important player for them. I don't understand that for Ryan Johansson, who was their center. So they just the Avalanche took two guys and were like, we think we can upgrade these positions where Byram never plays, so we'll get Sean Walker in that spot, and we'll take Ryan Johansson, who's a fucking bum, who's soft, and replace him with Casey Middlestad, who's also kind of soft, but he's having a nice year for Buffalo. So Buffalo's been hearing it for 10 years, but they're building something. They got the number one prospect pool in hockey, and now they got Bowen Byram, they got Henry Jokiharju, and they got Owen Power. Like they got a lot of Darlene. They got a lot of pieces, and I'm like envious of these teams that are like wheeling and dealing, because the Hawks just anybody who was theoretically available, they signed like Dickinson and those guys to extensions, and they're just kind of sitting on their hands right now. I thought they would be the bank. I thought they would like facilitate trades.
Oh, we could take on all well earned. Because that was a guy we kind of circled like a month ago.
Totally, it was him, and there was one other guy who got an extension who you're like, all right, I could pull it up right now. But that was for the Hawks. It was just like, okay, like anybody who would have had value. Oh, and Nick Foligno. Nick Foligno got $500,000 raise in a 2-year extension. So hopefully, and same thing, Dickinson got 4.25, and they're both signed now through 2026. if they are still in the Blackhawks top 6 in 2026, then you have to fire everybody. But if they're both on the 4th line in 2026, you could have a decent team. And that's what people get so like kind of similar with we're talking about the Bears and you're looking at them as a unit. That's why I really want the Hawks to spend this summer, because they've had 4 years of high draft picks and trading away Doc and DeBrincat and all these guys. Mm-hmm. But next year, I guess the only guys the Hawks could trade would be today would be Tyler Johnson and maybe Anthony Beauvillier. Those are the only guys anybody would want.
And
but
the deadline's when?
Friday. So it's moving. It's moving.
Yeah.
So it's tomorrow.
Like
we're 48 hours out.
In some respects, this will be just about the last podcast where any Blackhawks thing is relevant until we're 19 games. Got to fast forward and then
until the lottery and then the draft.
Yeah,
yes,
that's it.
Yeah. So
19 games left, which seems crazy.
Oh, congratulations to them! They won their first road game since November 9th. This team absolutely fucking sucks.
That's 4 months ago, man.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly 4 months ago.
I think it was something like 22 or 25 games in a row they lost on the road.
In the raucous Mullet Arena.
Yeah, they beat Arizona. But what I was going to say was, if you have Vlasic, they need to sign him. He's a nice player. Korchinski's a nice player. Seth Jones. You get Connor Murphy back. He's been out most of the year. He's an NHL defenseman. Taylor Hall's coming back next year. He's been out most of the year. You get another development year of Bedard. If you go out and sign Andreas Athanasiou, who's like a nice third line kind of guy, he's been out most of the year. If you go out and get a couple of legitimate guys, Stamkos and Kane and Frank Nazar comes into the NHL program next year, and you get some development, like there's a path to being not a great team, but a team that you don't want to like rip your eyeballs out when you're watching them play. Like they might be in that like wild card mix if they nail this summer. And why people don't want to do that, like I'm not saying sign Stamkos to an 8-year deal, like a Seabrook deal. I would never say that, but you can give him a deal that ends in 2026, the same way you gave to Foligno and Dickinson, and let's try to be fucking competent.
Cobble some things.
Yeah,
we'll see.
You can there's a path to having a good product. That's all. Have a good product. The broadcast fucking stinks. The team fucking stinks. Everything stinks. Bring back the black Chris Chelios 90s jerseys and bring in some good players, and let's have some fun next year.
Do something right.
They've lost 14 of their last 16 games. I checked in on them the other night when they were playing the Avalanche.
5-0, absolutely fucking smoked.
I couldn't. I'm trying to get something out of it so I can talk about them, and I'm like, what am I can't watch it.
It's a minor league team.
Yeah, it's
Bedard and a minor league team for the most part.
It was pretty fucking bad.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to be optimistic, and I'm trying to look around corners and be like, hey, like you win if you win the lottery. So then you had Celebrini and Nazar come in, you sign a couple of forward free agents, your D's not that far off. You could be okay. Mm-hmm. You could be
How's that Michigan kid doing from last year's draft?
Nazar?
No.
Fantilli,
yeah.
Yeah, he's in the NHL.
Good.
Yeah.
Stud.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
He's gonna be.
And
really
there's
good.
no Fantilli level player at number 2
for the Hawks.
Yeah, assuming they don't win the lottery.
Not at forward. So Celebrini is that level. He's probably exactly. He's a little bit smaller, but he's that kind of guy. He's exactly what the Hawks need. If they don't get him, there are other great players.
Just not.
One of them's Russian, who I don't want. Another one is a defenseman. I think we're okay at defense. Like I wouldn't hate it if they draft him, obviously, but they need to start getting some forwards in there, like impact forwards. Mm-hmm. And the other one, a kid I love, is Caden Lindstrom, who's this like he's big, mean boy, scores a ton of goals, plays in the WHL, and he's an animal. Like he's like
I like hearing that.
Yeah, so he's probably a left wing in the NHL, which I would prefer. Centers inherently have more value because they're asked to do more. So Celebrini, if it's not Celebrini, I want Lidstrom. But we have plenty of time.
We'll get to all that.
Yeah.
On that note, we could wrap this show up. Thank you again to Ian Happ. Thank you to Miller Lite.
Thank you to Portillo's too for sending us out to Arizona. That was a great week. Yep.
It was a great week. So a lot more content to come. Make sure you subscribe to those channels on Rumble, Barstool Chicago, and YouTube. Stay subscribed to the podcast. We will have our Arizona vlog out this Friday. So tomorrow, right? No, Sunday.
Yeah.
A little late this week, Sunday. But still, you'll see the Portillo's Palace. You'll see these guys hiking Camelback. You'll see us at Sloan Park. And
Which was not that difficult.
you'll get all that. So thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.